Okay, let's get into this. In today's world, it feels like you can be absolutely brilliant, right? The best at what you do.
Hmm.
But if nobody sees it, if it just stays hidden, well, how much impact does it really have?
That's the core question, isn't it?
Exactly. So today, we're diving straight into a really potent idea from the 48 Laws of Power, Law 6. Court attention at all costs.
And what's so compelling about this one is how fundamental visibility is. It's not just about, vanity or ego. It's like
Okay.
the bedrock that influence gets built on. If you're not seen, you're just not really in the game.
You're not even considered.
Precisely. And in this, saturated world we live in, being overlooked, that can honestly be way worse than getting some negative feedback sometimes. It's about staying relevant, staying in the picture.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive then is, well, first to understand why. Why is attention such a powerful thing? Then let's look at how some really influential figures historically and now have used it, strategically.
Yeah, the actual tactics.
And most importantly, figure out some practical ways you can get more visible, keep that presence going, but without looking like you're, desperately scrambling for likes or something.
Without looking thirsty, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Think of this as like your shortcut to understanding a key piece of how power and influence actually operate.
So let's start with that foundation. Why is visibility so, foundational? It ties directly into how we perceive credibility, right?
Totally.
How we decide who has power and even how long someone's impact lasts. There's this psychological quirk where we tend to assume that whatever is consistently there must be important.
It's like our brain takes a shortcut.
Yeah.
Oh, I keep seeing this person or this brand. Must be legit.
Exactly. Presence equals significance in our subconscious. Our minds just kind of equate being visible with being valuable.
And the flip side is just as powerful, isn't it? If someone or some idea just vanishes from view for too long,
Poof.
yeah, poof, we start thinking, oh, they're not relevant anymore. Maybe they're finished. It's kind of brutal, but true.
It is. And in that constant battle for attention, which is, let's face it, super limited,
Yeah.
the voice that actually cuts through, the one people hear, often wins out, even if it's not necessarily the smartest or the best idea in the room.
That quote really nails it. The loudest voice may not be the smartest, but it's the one they hear.
Which brings us to the psychology behind it. Why does attention hold such sway over us?
What makes it tick?
Well, part of it is how it shapes our perception of reality. Think about something like scarcity bias.
Okay.
Things that are really prominent right in front of us being talked about, we tend to see them as more important or valuable, partly because they're so visible, like those limited edition product drops.
Right. The hype is fueled by knowing it's visible now but won't be soon. Creates urgency.
Exactly. And it's not just about newness either. There's also familiarity bias.
Ah, yeah. The more you see something.
The more you trust it. Even if you're not consciously aware of it happening, repeated exposure to a name, a face, an idea, it builds this subtle feeling of, positivity and trust.
It explains why brands spend so much on just getting their logo out there. Constantly. It works over time.
It really does. And another interesting psychological angle is that the fear of being ignored, of just becoming irrelevant, that can actually be stronger for some people than the fear of being criticized.
Wow. Okay. So you'd rather risk negative attention than no attention at all.
In some power plays, absolutely, because the alternative is oblivion. Plus, we're social creatures. We tend to look at what other people are paying attention to.
Right. We follow the crowd's gaze.
Yeah. We're more likely to gravitate towards what seems to be capturing the collective focus, sometimes even if it slightly contradicts our own private beliefs.
Which makes that warning feel pretty heavy. If you don't control your image, someone else will.
It's stark, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're passive about how you're perceived, you leave this vacuum and people will fill it with their own assumptions. And those might not be flattering or accurate.
Okay, so let's look at some examples. Who's done this well? Who's really mastered courting attention?
Oh, history's full of them. P.T. Barnum is like the textbook case, isn't he?
The ultimate showman.
Absolutely. His whole career was basically Law 6 in action. He didn't just have a circus. He created spectacles. He manufactured drama, started rumors, anything to keep people talking about Barnum.
That famous line, right? There's no such thing as bad publicity. Now, we could debate the ethics of that, maybe.
For sure, different conversation. But purely from an attention standpoint, he understood that being in the conversation, whatever the reason, was way better than silence. It kept him alive in the public mind.
Kept the ticket sales going.
You bet.
Yeah.
Then you have someone like Napoleon Bonaparte. Very different style, but equally focused on visibility.
How so?
He was incredibly strategic about his image. He commissioned portraits, put his face on coins, used the newspapers media of his day to spread his likeness far and wide.
So it wasn't accidental. It was a campaign.
A deliberate, consistent campaign to control the narrative through sheer visibility. Every time you saw his image, it reinforced his power, his authority, constant reinforcement.
Okay, fast forward to today. Who embodies this now?
Well, you could point to someone like Kanye West. Love him or hate him, you can't deny his ability to command attention.
No, he definitely stays in the headline.
He constantly reinvents his persona, sparks controversy, makes sure he's part of the cultural conversation. There's often a pattern, right? Big bursts of activity music, fashion, statements.
Yeah, then maybe a quieter period, but everyone's still talking about the last thing.
Exactly. And notice how those bursts often line up with new projects. It ensures maximum eyes on him when he needs it for his ventures. It's calculated visibility.
It really is.
And this isn't just for celebrities or historical figures. Think about tech startups.
Okay, yeah, relatable.
How many brilliant ideas, genuinely good products just fizzle out?
Happens all the time.
And often it's not because the tech was bad, it's because they never got seen. They didn't capture attention, didn't generate buzz, they got lost in the noise, while maybe a louder, less innovative competitor took the market.
Ouch. That's a tough lesson. Lack of visibility can be fatal for a business.
It absolutely can. It shows the real stakes of ignoring this principle.
Okay, so we get why attention matters. Deeply. Now, the crucial part. How do we apply this? How can you, listening right now, use this in, say, 2025? Let's start with creators or entrepreneurs.
Right. One really powerful strategy now is building in public.
What does that mean exactly?
It means not waiting until everything is perfect and polished. Share the journey. Give people sneak peeks of what you're working on, talk about the process, tease what's coming next.
Again, letting people behind the curtain.
Exactly. It builds connection, creates anticipation, but fundamentally it keeps you visible. Even small, regular updates, a quick post, sharing a milestone, it maintains that perception that you're active, you're relevant, you're doing things.
That makes sense. What about in a more traditional job, like in an office setting? You can't exactly drop controversial statements to get noticed by your boss.
No, probably not the best strategy there. But the principle is the same. Make your good work visible to the people who matter.
So don't just assume they'll notice.
Never assume. Be proactive. Send concise email summaries of your progress on key projects. Volunteer to present your findings. Give regular updates to your manager or team lead. You have to overcome the trap of silent excellence.
Silent excellence gets overlooked.
Sadly, yes. Often it does. You need to tactfully ensure your contributions are seen and acknowledged.
Okay, what about online? That's where so much attention lives now.
Yeah.
How do you court attention there effectively?
Online is noisy, so you need to be intentional. Think about your hooks. How do you grab someone scrolling? Use intriguing titles, ask questions, promise value like 5 things you need to know about X, or why nobody is talking about this aspect of Y.
Spark curiosity.
Right. And frame your own story, whether personal or professional, as a narrative. People connect with stories. Share the challenges, the breakthroughs, the memorable moments. Make your journey relatable and interesting. Storytelling grabs and holds attention.
Okay, that's all really practical stuff, but let's talk about the pitfalls. Because you can definitely overdo this, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. There's a huge difference between strategic visibility and just desperate attention seeking.
Yeah, that clout-chasing vibe.
Exactly. If you come across as reckless or just hungry for any kind of attention, it can seriously backfire. Desperation undermines power. It doesn't build it. Your visibility needs to feel intentional, authentic to some degree, not just random noise.
Good point. And also, getting attention isn't the same as getting respect, right?
Critically important distinction. Attention opens the door. It gets people to look your way. But what they see when they look, the substance, the value, your character, that's what determines whether you gain respect and lasting influence.
So attention is the currency, but respect is the long-term investment.
That's a good way to put it. Being talked about is not the same as being valued. Don't confuse the two.
And one more thing to avoid, just disappearing.
Yes. Unless it's a very deliberate, strategic move, like building anticipation for a comeback, don't just vanish for long stretches. In this attention economy, being absent means people forget, they move on, they make assumptions.
like you've dropped off the map.
Right. Your relevance can erode quickly if you're not consciously managing your presence, even your periods of quiet.
So looking at the big picture here in 2025,
Hmm.
it really feels like attention is, well, it is a currency. It's like the new oil, as some people say.
I think that's spot on. In this environment, just being the best, most skilled, the most innovative, it's often not enough anymore. Not on its
The
own.
equation has changed.
It has. Success now heavily involves effectively capturing and, just as importantly, maintaining public attention. We see it play out constantly. The silent genius gets overlooked. The loud beginner gets hired.
That might not seem fair.
Maybe not, but it highlights the raw power of attention in actually shaping who gets opportunities, who gets heard, who leads.
So wrapping this up, the core message isn't about becoming some obnoxious self-promoter, is it?
Not at all. It's not about constant boasting or manufacturing drama just for kicks.
But it is about recognizing that letting yourself be forgotten, letting yourself fade into the background, that directly weakens your influence.
Precisely. You have to actively, consciously court attention, as Green puts it. Protect your presence. Make sure you remain a factor in your field, in your world.
You don't need to shout the loudest, maybe.
No, and you don't need to brag all the time. But if they forget your name, if people stop thinking about you, your power, your ability to make things happen, it just evaporates.
So court attention, protect your presence.
And understand this. In a world overflowing with information, you need to be known. Because being known is the first step to being anything else. Be known or risk being nothing.